Oh, I like this. This is good. I like this. This is like better than the lighting, the overhead light in the last car. Oh, I dig this a lot. It's like you're in the last one was like being in a priest in a confession box at dark movies. Now it's a bit like you're addressing the cardinal. Cardinal Sheridan. There's a lovely ring to it, doesn't it? Anyway, I hope you're all keeping good. It's Sunday. Before I start the video proper, to remind you, in a couple of hours from now, live on Sarah Mondaini's channel, is the second episode of Hocus Focus. And this time we'll be having a very good stuff on prophecy. Is this the last pope? That's always a very, even if you're not a Catholic, it's always an interesting subject. Some interesting stuff about John Lennon. It's a prophecy kind of stuff. It'll be good. It's a good show this week. Sarah dug up some great stuff that I didn't know about John Lennon and things like that. So a couple of hours from now on Sarah Mondaini's channel, I will post the link below as soon as this video finishes, and I put the titles on. I hope you're all keeping well. Well, some very interesting stuff has happened. Now, let's think back. Do you remember the magic egg ritual that we did back a couple of years ago in 2020? Do you remember that? I remember that quite well. Hundreds, if not thousands, of you took part in it. And the idea was that I created a mantra saying, Corona has lost its shine by April. Corona lost its shine by April 9. Or by April 9, Corona lost its shine. One of the others, I can't remember. And then I told you to create a sigil on an egg, a raw egg, and then throw it into a river, a moving river that leads to the sea. Now, I wasn't expecting it to happen the following April 9, although it was kind of weird that Mr. Airborne Virus himself, the one who wanted to come back as an airborne virus and kill people, Prince Philip, died on April 9, the following April 9, one of the masterminds of this current, the wickedness we were living in. Now, think yourself back to those days, and just remember, and that was not, I would say 50% of the reason I came up with the egg ritual was to improve the tribe's morale, to just give them something to believe in, something they could work to, maybe make a family day out of it. That was it was just a morale boosting thing on that level. On the other level, it was a very, very real, genuine thing. Now, do you remember what it was like back then when that egg ritual was done? We were locked down. We were not able to go anywhere. I couldn't attend conferences or do events, make films. It was just awful. People couldn't visit their loved ones in hospital. We had you needed a pass to get into a pub to get a pint or a McDonald's. And we had politicians with smirks on their face like Varadkar saying, "Oh, it'll probably be like this forever." We heard about the new normal. This was the media were masturbating all over themselves, covered in their own jism, talking about how this was the new world and we were locked down forever. We'd probably never move again. This was life going forward. The death tolls every night on the news, and the sadists. Always look for the sadists, enjoying every minute of it. All these celebrity scientists and doctors. Anyone who expressed any kind of pain or hurt in their soul was attacked and savaged and called a granny killer. Remember all this? Remember how dark it was? And look where we are now. Only at the beginning of 2023. And we're living in a completely different world than what the misery they put us under. Remember the passes for the Vax Pass? That was be forever. That was never to end. There was never no restriction. Anyone who didn't have it, there wasn't needle crafted up the max, wasn't allowed to go anywhere. It was, and those of us who were the voices in the wilderness said, "This makes no sense. It's mostly old women who are dying, very old women, past life expectancy age, who are dying of this thing. Why are you locking us all down?" And then we had the psychotics in our countries who said, "Oh, I love that Chinese zero COVID policy. We need to have that here. Together we can be COVID zero." Do you remember those fucking excrementous dogs? Do you remember them? Do you remember them? how they were so sexually and theologically wrapped up into this monstrosity that they were just fucking loving it. Do you remember those animals? Do you remember how dark it was? How it felt like they loved, they were putting the jackboot underneath us. And I remember how that night that we all put the egg into their streams, how it just felt, oh, I need something to believe in. Well, it worked. Because April 9 happens every year, not just 2021. It happens in 2022, 23, 24, and forever. It's lost its shine. And I had the odd asshole making fun of it, but guess what? You were wrong. We were right. Did any of us think that by January 2023, one of the editors of the journal of the magazine Vaccine, sorry, not Vaccine, the Skeptics magazine, who was one of the most brutal attackers of us who refused to take the needlecraft, was found dead, died suddenly, as this bitch turned her head to look towards Mother Hydras as her children within her flesh tore the old fucking harpy asunder. And believe me, I make no apology for dancing on her grave. If you look at some of the stuff this bitch wrote, she was practically calling for our arrests. There is a beautiful correctional force happening right now that the globalists can't control. Look at Biden. He's falling apart on every level. It's unbelievable. Look at the media. They've lost control. Look what's happening in Ireland. It's not just the needlecraft. It's many things. Where are you now on your guitar, Luke O'Neill? Where are you? The piano wire concerto will be played one day, and we will know who will string those notes. You fucking better believe it. Last week, a Israeli professor said, the needlecraft has been the greatest evil foisted upon humanity since the Holocaust. He was called an anti-Semite. A Jewish Israeli was called an anti-Semite by no other than Hancock, the English lockdown czar. Remember Mr. Crying and Smirking at the same time? Oh, it's all. Even last year, did you even think we'd be this far down the road? Did you think that the Ouroboros would have bitten its tail by now? I think we would be at this point by now. Now I'm angry, yes, because I shouldn't have never been allowed to act. If in a just world, my Rona Ronicles should have never allowed to happen. They should have never been necessary. But right now, I am not in a reconciliation mood. I am not going to be magnanimous. I am not Cardinal Pell in the Vatican, who was illegally and evilly locked up for a year in prison by the Pope Francis, an evil scumbag, for something the man never did, and then came out of prison as a true sainted man. But I'm not Cardinal Pell. I'm not a man of his stature. But I make no apologies for seeing all these people who mocked us. To see a post on Twitter of a father boasting about bribing his kids to get the needlecraft with candy, like a paedophile would. It's all grooming these days. It's all grooming. Everything is grooming. They groom the kids either into the needlecraft or into paedophilia. It's all grooming. And because we have psychopaths and pedos in power for now. And then he posted, my poor son died of an unknown cause. And then people saying, well, did you never think that you should have never injected him? And then tries another virtual signal of, we gave his body to science. These people are sick. The normies are sick. The semi-sentient normies we can win over. But a lot of them are sick. And they've taken the transubstantiation as some kind of cosmic adjustment to get them the fuck out of our way. You know what? Even the Christians, I have to give them credit. You know what that Christian verse, "And the meek shall inherit the earth." You know what the term meek originally used to mean? Keeping patient and waiting. Just wait. What we had, we held. They're all, it's happening at a colossal rate now. And you will not get away with it, you who foisted it upon us. It's all gone very silent. Those ones who wrote at the pictures of them showing their mark and everything, their blessing of trust the science, where the hell are they now? Where have they all gone? Where have the ones who called me a plague rat gone? Where are they gone? Where are the trust the science gone? It's all gone very fucking quiet, hasn't it? Hasn't it? It's gone quiet because they were in violation of natural law. And those of us who didn't fall for this, what we did was we saw science fiction movies from the future. That's what we saw. And we knew that if we just waited, we'd be there. Now, speaking of the egg ritual, there's always synchronicities when these things happen. Right now, there's a huge egg shortage and inflation. They call it eggflation in the world. I find that very synchronistic in consideration of where the egg ritual has brought us to this point. It's almost like at some psychological, psychic, symbiotic level, the control grid is trying everything to not let us have more eggs out of some kind of subconscious acceptance that the egg ritual worked. Did you ever believe in 2020? Remember the crossover between 2020 and 2021? Did you ever believe for 1 minute that we were going to be this far down the road by January 23? I thought we were looking at least a decade. I wasn't even sure in my life if we would see what we're seeing right now happening. But it's happening. We're here. The remarkable thing has happened because it was never going to work. It was a profundity. It was profound from day one. You don't have a professor from Trinity College Dublin singing with a guitar in his hand during a fucking pandemic. You do not have TikTok dancing nurses and entire hospitals hiring film crews, practicing, rehearsing, recording, editing, and releasing slick dance videos in the middle of a fucking pandemic. You have bodies in the streets in the middle of a pandemic. But guess what? We're having them now, and it's not caused by a seasonal flu. It's caused by the transubstantiation of the sacred needlecraft. They got what they wanted. Their own gods have betrayed them. And it was always going to be that way. The Christians are right. The meek, the patient have inherited the earth. But this time it's different. This time there's so much to learn from the rollover time from when Christianity took over from paganism. That was so vital to this age. We are the Chaldeans. We are the ones who will guide the people through to the next world and the next second Renaissance. I'm hearing the term parallel society everywhere. I even heard Naomi Wolf saying it the other day. A parallel everything. Medical system. What's the old system will collapse because we're all ignoring it. Remember the quantum video the other day? What you don't pay attention to cease to exist. And that's why when we're not having a revolution. We're not having an uprising. We're not having a war. Our weapons are psychic. And our greatest arsenal is our refusal. Our non-compliance. And in no time we've done it. In no time we've done it. Just think, one of the senior editors of the Skeptic Journal who wrote 2 years of attacks on anyone who dared to use the reason and logic that they weren't using, woke up in her bed one night, turned her head up and saw Mother Hydra's babies and was calling Mother Hydra our babies home. And she's probably got more calamari inside her now than the average Italian restaurant. And do I feel sorry for them? Not in the least. I only feel sorry for the ones who were coerced into it, either by their jobs or by love. Otherwise, no, not at all. And those of you who injected your children, you know what that means. I don't have to sell anybody. Maybe you should put it this way, try try dressing like Fred and Rosemary West, because that's what the fuck you are. If you injected your little children against their will, that's what you are. You're Fred and Rosemary West with a fucking vaccine in your hand. That's what you are. Don't come, oh, that's a disgraceful thing to say. I'm not like that. I thought I was doing the right thing for my children. If you were doing the right thing for your children, you would have done the same thing that me and everyone else on this channel and other channels from Dave Cullen, John Waters, Ashton O'Loughlin, go on and on, Neil, I name them all, Neil, would have looked at the sign and said, this is bullshit. I'm not putting that fucking thing inside me. No fucking way. But you didn't. Why? Because virtue signaling, cowardice, was more important to you. What the neighbours would say was more important to you than the lives of your own children. So don't you come to me saying that you were a victim. Your child is a victim of you. You who were supposed to be their parent. And those school teachers who are bugging parents to get their kids needle crafted, or if they're not doing that, having to teach them transgender lessons, string them up. String them up. We're here. The time is here. They can either join us right now or face the consequences in the future. Because I can tell you it's coming. And it has nothing to do with me. There's a ferocious natural correction taking place right now. A ferocious adjustment of karmic and natural law. And your only chance to survive it is to throw your hands up and say, I fucked up. What can I do to protect this? There's already stories circulating that on the dark web, people who have been fully transubstantiated are desperately trying to buy the blood of clean people who haven't taken the transubstantiation. That's where it's at, right? I haven't seen any, I don't look at those things, but I've heard it, and I actually believe it. I believe it now that the people with the money who are looking around at everyone dropping suddenly and unexpectedly are going, I got to do something fast, and they're frantically looking for blood transfusions. Did you ever think that we would be here? That would be at this level of it by January 2023. Guess what? I did. And you know what it was? When I threw the egg into the Moy River up the road. And I'm sure many of you felt the same way too. And that sense of elation you had when you threw the egg in the river, it wasn't the bravado of, this girl is on Pfizer. It wasn't that. It was honest. It was pure. And it was not profane. Do you know that you are part of the mythology of the future? Do you know that in centuries to come, people will sing songs about us? Do you know that in decades to come, there will be people talking about what amazingly inspirational people were, and we saved the human genome by simply refusing to give our bodies over to corporations and bureaucrats and civil servants. That's how profound this is. I'm not angry. I have a righteous fury that comes with age, and I'm not bothered by it at all. All I have to do is look at the pictures of children who've died unexpectedly, and then I have to feel sorry for that bitch who's now been eradicated by her own religion on Skeptics magazine. Not a hope in hell. Her dropping dead would be no different than if Himmler had died in the middle of the Holocaust. It's exactly at that level. Evil has no place as a dominant force in the cosmos. Sanguine gnosis. See you in a couple of hours.